They tell you the river gave me back. What they don't tell you is what it kept. 17 years later, I found out exactly what that was. And by the time I understood, it was already too late to give it back. My name is Tolani. For 17 years, everyone in Ilesa believed I was just a river orphan. Mama Udara took pity on. Even I believed that. Almost. Prince Dayo was the only royal who ever walked among us without armor. Everyone said it was because he had a good heart. Nobody asked why a prince would need to prove that so often. He told me he loved me by the well behind Mama Odara's compound. I told him I loved him too. Both of us were telling the truth. Neither of us was telling the whole truth. Everyone assumed Lady Isioma hated me because of Dayo. They were wrong. She wasn't watching him. She was watching me. Take this upriver, she told him. Find where it started. I need to know if the current ever changes its mind. Nobody in the village knew Isioma had sent anyone anywhere. Nobody knew to be afraid yet. I certainly didn't. That night, Mama Odara asked me something she had never asked before. Tolani, when you dream, do you dream of a mother's face or of water? I told her I never dreamed at all. That was the first lie I ever told her on purpose. It would not be the last. She looked at me the way you look at something you've been protecting so long you've forgotten if you're protecting it from the world or protecting the world from it. Meanwhile, inside the palace, the king was told that a bead had been found, a specific bead, one that was supposed to have been destroyed 17 years ago at the bottom of the Osun River, because that bead was never just a bead. It was a seal, and seals, once broken, cannot simply be reforged. He gave an order that night that would reach my village before sunrise. Not for Dayo, not for Isioma, for me. They didn't come with fire, like you'd expect. They came with banners, polite, official, almost gentle. That was the part that frightened Mama Odara the most. Whatever they ask you, she said, you tell them you remember nothing. Not the river, not the bead, not even your own dreams. Do you understand me, Tolani? But I didn't feel afraid. I felt something closer to recognition. Like I had been waiting my whole life for someone to finally come and ask me the right question. They expected me to cry, to beg, to ask where they were taking me. I did none of those things. I already knew. The moment I saw the mark above the gate, something in my chest recognized it before my mind did. That should have frightened me. It didn't. The servants looked at me strangely, not like I was a prisoner, like I was something they'd been told stories about and never believed they'd actually see. The king didn't ask my name. He already knew it. What he asked instead was, do you still have dreams of water, child, or have they stopped? I told him the same lie I told Mama Odara. He smiled like a man who'd expected exactly that answer and was disappointed to receive it anyway. Then he showed me the box, empty, waiting, and he asked me if I knew what used to sit inside it. My hand moved before I told it to. Just slightly, just enough, and I watched the king see it happen. 17 years, he said quietly, and the river finally sends it back grown. I did not understand what he meant, not yet. I didn't know Isioma was watching from the doorway. I didn't know she'd been waiting for this exact moment for far longer than I had been alive. She went somewhere I would only understand the meaning of much later to the one part of the palace the family never spoke about. Whatever was behind that door, she wanted to reach it before anyone else in that palace remembered it existed, before I did. Dayo found me before I found him. And for the first time since I had known him, he looked less like a prince and more like a boy who was actually afraid of losing something. "What did they tell you?" he asked. I almost laughed, because for once, I was the one who knew something he didn't. I loved him. That part was true. But I was starting to notice things about him I hadn't let myself notice before. Small things. The way even his panic looked practiced. Before I could ask Dayo anything else, an advisor rushed in with news that emptied the color from the king's face. The river was burning, not the banks, not the forest beside it, the water itself. And for the first time since the riders came for me, I finally understood what Mama Odara had been so afraid of all along. It wasn't the palace. It was what would happen once the palace remembered what I was. If this story pulled you in, comment "The River Remembers" below. What do you think Tolani really is? If you're enjoying this series, like, subscribe to Moonlight Tales by Joy, and share this story with someone who loves African mystery and folklore. The next chapter changes everything.